Hello, and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy episode 141 for the week of January 13th, 2014. I'm Ryan Higgins, who's here this week.
Brock Sager.
Omar.
Bryce.
And Charlie.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
No Toby. He's got some family crap. He'll be back next week. There is so friggin' much stuff to talk about this week, so we're just going to get right into it.
News.
Man, you're not even kidding. Last week, one of our regular writers in for questions in the show, Stefano, had asked me a question, and I mentioned multiple times during the episode, at the end of the episode, we'll talk about this. We never talked about it.
Yeah, that's how we keep them listening.
I know. Well, now we're going to talk about it. His question was, how was 2013 for the shop and industry, and what are your expectations and hope for 2014 as far as sales go and all that? So I wanted to read some sales info for people that care about this type of thing. No, we'll keep it short. Because contrary to what people think, comic books are doing very, very well. They go against newspaper and book sales and everything like that. The digital market has slowed significantly. People were thinking, that number is just going to keep going higher and higher and higher. While it is still up, a decent amount, it is not up the 100%, 200% it had been previous years. I don't see a specific number here, unfortunately. I had it, but I lost it. But digital is doing well, and it's leveling at about 10% of the industry, which is kind of what we thought, or kind of what I thought at least.
It was at 3% in 2011 when they started doing that.
Yeah. And it's hit about 10%, which is probably where it's going to stay. Like, it leveled very much this last year.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Bryce can attest to this. You can't bind digital comics.
Yeah, that's the downfall of the whole industry.
Yeah. But the direct market sales for comics and trade paperbacks have rose 9% over 2012, which is almost exactly how much better the store did than 2012. We did about 10%, a little under 10%.
So is that units or dollars?
Well, there's let's see. This is sales. No, I believe this is dollar.
Good question.
But there hasn't been a gigantic shift in price this year. Oops, and I totally just closed what I was going to look at.
So is there any insight as to whether or not this is the same number of people spending more money, or if it's more people, which is what the industry actually wants?
That's hard. I mean, there's no way to really know.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
We don't have any mathletes here, do we?
Oh, I'm an athlete.
Oh, yeah, you are. That's right.
What do you need number crunched?
Yeah, we don't have the right analysis.
Oh.
Yeah, we kind of need more data.
Well,
more data.
Yes.
I mean, one thing that shouldn't surprise a lot of people here, we've bitched. I should say bitched. We've talked occasionally about the quality and lack thereof of some Marvel and DC titles throughout the last couple of years, which would go to show that both Marvel and DC lost. Marvel's down 0.56% from 2012, and they pushed their variants and special incentives hardcore in 2013. So that number would probably be a lot higher if it wasn't for that. DC's down 1.61%, but then you look down the rest of the companies. Image is at an 8%, which is the highest of the market. So Image is 8% of the market. That's unthinkable. I mean, a couple of years ago, Marvel was like 42%, and they're at 33% now. I mean, you can see this growth in all the indie titles. IDW is up almost a full percent to 6.47%. Dark Horse is up to 5.7%. Boom, Valiant, Avatar, all these, the top 10 companies are all up, or level at worst. And Marvel and DC are seeing, despite more incentives, more books, bigger push, they're seeing their numbers shrink in the percent, which, again, is something we've seen here at the store as well. So, that 10% growth, I don't think was coming from that we had last year. I don't think it was coming from Marvel and DC so much as things like an expanded line of HeroClix and tournaments in the store, thanks to Omar and Marshall and a few of the other guys here. Very strong, consistent books from Image for the most part. Not everything, but Velvet and East to West and Saga and Walking Dead consistently sell just same numbers. Me and Brock earlier today were doing our order adjustments for the December order. And my December order was the lowest Marvel order I had year to date. It's probably my lowest DC for that matter, too. So it's not really, I'm not picking on Marvel here. But I thought, okay, this is as low as I can take these numbers. And then I looked at what sold this past week, and I'm dropping another 10 or 20% on half the titles. Like, so I don't know if this is just customers or just Marvel and DC. They're just like, we did your Marvel now, we did the DC New 52, we're done. We just don't care. The quality's not there. I mean, you guys are customers as well, so if you guys got any insight, do you find yourself dropping titles? Are you dropping a lot, especially the Marvel and DC end?
You've also pointed out that their quote-unquote good jumping-on points also tend to be good jumping-off points when they do the relaunches and all that. So,
something like
some of that would...
All new X Factor, I ordered exactly what I ordered of X Factor 261, and I sold exactly what I sold of X Factor 261, which is the number before the relaunch.
Right, but that's a unique example, just because X Factor was a low but stable number for you.
Right. So I'm okay with that, but, this Marvel Now push isn't getting butts and seats, and I'm going to say the same with I'll counter with the DC books. I'm like Superman, Batman, or Batman, Superman. I mean, my numbers are half what it was with issue number 1, and while that happens, that's unfortunately commonplace where there's not just this trickle down. It's like, okay, people will pick up some number 1s, but then 2 gone. 10% gone at 3, 10% gone at 4, 10% gone at 5, 10% gone at 6, and it just keeps cutting and cutting and cutting. It's hard. So, you have a lot of titles, and that's what we're seeing is that we're seeing so many titles on the market right now. There's so many books, and that, if I'm selling 2 or 3 copies, it's not worth getting unless I'm selling out of. And I think it's going to be a weird year where 2014, where you're going to see a lot of course correcting, and I'm curious how Marvel and DC can react.
We were talking about this a little bit earlier about the price point that a lot of comics are at nowadays. I also kind of feel like even myself, when I'm looking at buying certain books, I don't have the interest in giving something a try when I'm trying to sort of stay within I'm going to budget this much per week on single issues, and then I'll buy a couple of trades or whatnot. But in terms of a lot of this sort of price per issue point, even on some of the trades and hardcovers, it's really hard to just go, I'll just pick that up.
Yeah.
Again, with the customer tastes, I think, with anything, with any kind of craft or any type of hobby, be it like comics, video games, movies, and film, you don't always just watch the big budget Hollywood shit after you watched every single one. Michael Bay just isn't as good as watching what's an example?
Her.
Yeah, Her. What's the guy's name again? The video. Yeah, Spike Jonze.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
It's just like it's night and day. So I think the question that you asked earlier, Ryan, what are the customers doing, and what are we doing around the table? Because we're customers too. There's a lot of Marvel books and a lot of DC books that they change the creatives and they put all the hardcore where all the people follow the fan base, and they put them on these titles that they want to try to turn around, like Superman or whatever Superman Unchained or whatever they called it. And it's just, there is the match there. I think with comics, especially because it's not a super high end medium. It's not like you have, it's pretty low from an entertainment standpoint, from the standpoint of how many people are buying it and you can talk about it. You don't talk about the water cooler. You talk about TV shows. You talk about film. It has to be a perfect storm. Jeff Johns, he's pretty much written off the map for the most part, minus a lot of the hardcore fans that still read every single book. But let's be honest, there's no comparison to anything he did in Green Lantern compared to what he did in Aquaman and Justice League to follow. Forever Evil is good, but it's like there's no way there's any comparison. You're lying through your teeth if you think it's on that level, because it really isn't.
Well, what we've seen, and I'm not necessarily seeing the customers we have spending less money. They are, maybe just because they're picking up fewer books, but I
didn't say like they're just dropping books. They are changing it. Like for me, I picked up tons of Image book, tons of Dark Horse, tons of other online books.
But what happens is there's definitely an erosion of the customer base. It's not just here. I talk with other stores and I see the numbers online. So this is my situation is probably some stores better than others, and some stores less. But what I think now of like kind of a high number order for a ongoing book used to be like 100 copies for number 1. Now it's 50, right? You think of Hulk number 1, the Jeff Loeb, Ed McGuinness book. I ordered 100 copies of number 1. Now that would be 50 copies. Now it would probably be 25 copies because the writer doesn't have that same cachet, right? But when that book came out, so something like Batman, Superman, that was such a big launch, but I still didn't order what I would have a few years ago. Now, I'm not talking New 52. I mean, I'm talking even pre that. We're talking pre-New 52, pre-Marvel Now numbers. So the event books, 100 copies is the new 200 for us. We would sell 200 copies of Infinite Crisis, but Forever Evil was 100 and then gone down. So we're not necessarily seeing the people here buying less books. And this still goes with this 10% sale growth. So it's some of it's the increase in price, but there's more product out there. So again, we're at the point where we're seeing so many people buying so different titles. You don't have 2 Batman books and DC only publishes 20 titles, so everyone is buying 2 Batman books. There's 20, I think we counted like 23 or 24 Batman-related titles out there. So you're going to have the same amount of people, but it's spread over so many titles.
Yeah.
And but plus you have people picking up a lot of Image, which we'll get to that in a second.
I think it's reflected in the numbers from the Marvel and DC were both down.
Yeah.
And Image and Dark Horse and Boom and all the other studios, they had a bump in theirs. And you said even when the market across the board was up about 9%?
It was 9% for comics, 6 point. I think it said 6.5 for trade paperbacks.
So I mean, people are spending,
which is great. I mean, that's fantastic.
I mean, people are spending a little bit more money, but now I think they're being a little more cautious. Like you said, Omar, you're buying a little more Image titles, you're buying more Dark Horse titles, because you're that's where you're going to kind of.
I'm going to divert my attention to something that is worth my time.
Yeah,
I have like 3 or 4 friends I think about that I talk about comics with them like on a regular basis, be it on Facebook or Instagram when I throw up pictures of HeroClix or even books that I'm reading, my weekly reads, or trying to reshelf my books and stuff after I've read stuff for like 3 or 4 months, because sometimes that's how long it takes to go through the weeklies. And these are people that jumped on New 52 and they were like loving it. And everyone, I think, was loving it for the most part that were not even hardcore DC fans or even casual DC fans, because there was a lot of excitement. It was new. But 2 years later now, these same people, they maybe pick up like, Animal Man, some of the titles that still are well maintained and were passed over nicely, like Swamp Thing. Is it Soul or?
Yeah.
So
it's still doing good.
So, but then for the most part, a lot of these guys are like now, well, I don't need to go to the shop every week. I'll go there once a month and I'll pick up a trade. So they can wait now. And I think too, the trades, I mean, obviously that is reflected in dollar, right? Because you get more money that way.
I think when it comes to New 52 specifically, probably about 10% of the books are significantly up from where they were pre-New 52 for us right now, like as of December or January. Probably 40% are roughly in the ballpark, right? I mean, plus or minus, a couple percent. And then probably 50% are again, even or under. So it's weird seeing, these books you thought, okay, well, Superman will always sell 20 copies. At its worst, it'll sell 20 copies. That's not the case anymore. The worst, that book keeps dropping and dropping and dropping. And, when you're seeing just consistent drops month after month by a copy, 2 copies, 3 copies, that adds up over the course of a year. I could drop 50, 60% of my audience. New Avengers, since Infinity End, I dropped 40% of my sales in 2 issues. Don't know what happened, but just people abandoned that book.
So I actually kind of have a directed question for Ryan, just because for a long time we sort of talked about the whole, a lot of people don't seem to care who's on what title, but I kind of feel like, especially in terms of Image books nowadays, because of a lot of these higher profile creators have been putting out these really high quality Image books, I kind of attribute that to a lot of those sort of higher sales nowadays, because you have your Brubakers doing books over there. You have your Morrison doing books over there.
The name, and we'll get to these guys in a minute when we talk about Image Expo. But a lot of the big names have gone to Image and are dropping comics. But a lot of the big names, the people that sell comics, aren't doing comics anymore. There's a lot of that too.
That was actually one of my sort of curiosities. Is I know if you had talked to me about a lot of these writers, say, I guess, especially 20 years ago, I couldn't tell you. Other than like Stan Lee, I probably couldn't tell you a single writer in comic books. I could tell you a handful of artists maybe. But as I've been more and more immersed in comic books and stuff over the years, like you you almost subconsciously start picking up on like, hey, I see this guy's name on all these books.
Oh, yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Like, that kind of thing, to the point now where like when I glance at the shelf, I'm always glancing at like, well, who wrote this? Who's the artist on this?
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like you've weeded out a lot more of the people who don't necessarily care about who's writing the books anymore.
I mean, there is a group of people who will always buy Superman and Batman and X-Men and Spider-Man because that's who the characters are. But there are a lot of people that know. Charlie, before we recorded, you said something that made a lot of sense to me. Actually, you asked me and Brock how many people are picking up books just to check out a number one, just to check out a series, and I think that's actually a really good point. I have very few. I think people are invested from issue one or not. They know if they're getting it or not. I don't think you see a lot of
speculators are picking up those issues.
Not even. I think a lot of people, a number one means nothing anymore. It is another issue in the series. It means, a new creator count matters. A number one, there was a point, but we've had, between Marvel and DC, we've had 120 some odd new ongoing number ones in the last 2.5 years. Between Marvel's, there's 30 some odd now. They've relaunched about 40 or 50 prior. DC did 52, plus all their post launches. So actually, probably closer to 200. You can't check out 200 books. If DC did a cold launch of all number ones again, I'd order no differently than what I do now. Right?
Yeah.
So I think that the sales figures seem to have dovetailed nicely with sort of images specifically.
Well,
they're sort of coming out of their growing pains of that awkward, 90s and 2000s era.
Oh yeah. Image,
and now you have Remender and Hickman, and I saw Snyder was doing some stuff. You have all these people that might otherwise be drawn to the big two, saying, "Oh, I can actually make a much more equally, if not more, successful living at Boom."
You sell a fraction of the books and you make twice as much money. So I'm gonna Image had Image Expo, which Omar, you went to. I want to hear all about it.
Yeah, sure.
But I've got the full list of all the books they announced here.
Okay.
So if you want, let me read down this list.
No, for sure, definitely. I think for the most part too, we all know and we all heard and we've all seen the coverage from the big sites. I just want to talk about the experience. So, whatever.
Let's comment on these books, and then I want to hear your specific deal. So the biggest is Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips got a 5-year do whatever you want to do contract with Image. They're being paid for 5 years. No editorial interference, no pitching. They just publish whatever they want to publish. If Brubaker and Phillips want to do it, they do it.
And that's an exclusive?
I would assume it's an exclusive deal to them. Yeah, I mean.
Well, I don't know if they can work with anyone else. The first time it sounded like it was like an exclusive contract similar to what we had with DC in years past and that kind of stuff.
Possibly.
Exclusive to Image?
That's what
it's possible,
like,
but they're already exclusive to Image.
Well, yeah.
Brubaker's not working for Marvel or DC again. So.
No, and he's bringing all of his toys with him.
Right, right. So that is the big one. The Fade Out is their new series after Fatale, which ends with 24. So that's their big one.
You should have seen his face, too. And when he was talking to the whole crowd, he seemed like stumped. Like, well, thank you. He was just like, just being
Didn't know what to say.
Yeah, just being Mr. like awkward Brubaker, which he's totally not. He's just all in his head. Yeah. And he's like talking to the crowd and just like looking at Eric and just like, what can I do? I can do anything I want, right? Anything? Like, you don't have to say anything. You have no word? Oh, he's all, we have a word. We can say some things. We can talk ideas. Yeah. He's just like, that's what I always worried about. He's all, him and, Sean, they're like all, what we've always worried about was what's next, or how are we going to be able to continue doing what we love so much? And now they don't have to worry about it. Yeah. So he's like, from then, you can only expect, greater work. Yeah. But the funny thing about that is, I guess I'll go into it more later.
Okay. James Robinson and Greg Hinkle are doing a new Airboy series. Airboy is an old public domain character from the 40s, so they're going to be doing a take on him. And I think Dark Horse did like an old Airboy series back in the 90s, I want to say.
Yeah, but the difference is Hinkle and Robinson, they're like pretty much drawn. It's like it's them, their faces, and they're pretty much just going through San Francisco with drugs, transvestites, and everything LGBT, everything San Francisco experience, with, of course, Nazi robots running after them. Nice. And they were just he was talking about it like it was something I wanted to really read. But of course, I love James Robinson, but sometimes, the way he sells it, it's not always going to equate to the actual finished product.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Kelly Sue DeConnick, who's doing Pretty Deadly in Captain Marvel, and Valentine DeLandro, apparently X Factor, but I'm not familiar with that person. Doing a campy, kick-ass adventure named Bitch Planet. So that should be exciting.
Oh, her shirt, you would have loved it. It said underrated. And she's like, fuck you. She's all, you internet troll, da-da-da. It was hilarious. And I was like, oh, Ryan, she's talking to you. Yeah. And I was sitting next to 3 girls, and they all had colored hair. They're all,
yeah, I'm sure.
Kelly Sue, Domin.
Girl power.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
We just lost all our girl listeners.
Kyle Higgins, who's doing Nightwing currently. Is
that your brother?
Alex, I wish. Alex Siegel, and then we can get me a drop at DC. And Rod Reese are doing a series called Cowl, COWL. Now, this is actually, if I'm not mistaken, if you're listening to the Fat Man on Batman podcast with Kevin Smith, Kyle Higgins talks about this comic like a year and a half ago or something like that when he was on the podcast, and it's finally coming out. So this is like based on a short film he did back in college.
I think called League or something like that.
Yeah, the League. Yeah, which they had kind of shopped around as a TV show. So we'll see if that actually comes out.
Wait, Cowl League, like, anything to do with Batman? I mean, obviously not. Like any sort of spin-off.
This is like a 1960s Chicago superhero labor union kind of thing. Mafia.
It has nothing to do with Cowl, but if you look closely, at the image, you can see a dude that has a V and a blue. So it's just like he brought Nightwing with him.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Matt Fraction, Fabio Moon, and Gabriel Ba will be doing a new Casanova series back at Image for Marvel.
Very nice.
Marvel is doing that for a while. So. Brandon Graham.
Did it start at Image?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
and then went to Icon.
Confused.
Yeah, then back to Image. Brandon Graham, who did Prophet, is going to be doing 4 random miniseries called 8 House. So there's a bunch of these coming in 2014 with various artists. Rick Remender and Greg Tuccini, one of the potentially... That guy has done some great work and just some terrible
I've never seen any good work. I've never seen any good work from Tuccini. When Greg Remender was like talking about Tuccini, like how he's a genius, I was like this. I was like, no. I was like, Remender, anything you say is
Greg
the truth.
Remender?
Rick Remender?
Yeah.
Rick Remender.
We know what he meant.
Yes. I was like, no.
X Factor stuff was rough.
Fucking piece of shit.
Yeah.
Wait,
crap.
when did you do
X-Force? He did X-Force.
X-Force, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he did the Outer World shit. I was talking about it in line with Captain.
Oh, dude,
Captain
you
Britain
guys
stuff?
hated on that, but I didn't love it, but I like that Otherworld stuff. Okay, I'm a huge fanboy of Rick Remender. I'll like anything.
Conceptually, I think it was cool what he was doing, but it just seemed like it was all just plot points, and it was like it was scribble bullshit.
Yeah, like sketchy. That's like I like that type of stuff.
Well, they're doing a series called Low, about a science fiction series about the lowest depths of Earth after it has been ravaged by the sun's radiation. Joshua Williams doing Ghosted currently with Mike Henderson from I think he says he's done Venom, doing a serial killer mystery called Nailbiter. That's in May. Grant Morrison and Chris Burnham are doing a series called Nameless, clearly the best series that Image will launch next year.
Oh, but you know what?
Which they've said nothing about, right?
Yeah.
There's like an image, and that's it.
It will remain
No.
nameless.
Yeah.
It's going to be fucking incredible. Like what he was talking about the
Chris
whole
Burnham.
time. Chris Burnham was so excited. He's all, first of all, and this is now going tagging myself back in from like 10 minutes ago when, I'll tell you more later. People go to Image to make money. Grant Morrison said, hey, Chris. I can't do his accent.
No, that was great.
He's all, would you like to make $1 million? Come with me. He said he was doing that straight up. He's all, would you like to make $1 million? Come with me. It loves his art, and it's so funny because, for the most part, anybody would pull down their pants and grab their ankles to work with Grant Morrison.
Yeah.
But Burnham gets picked by him and says, hey, let's do this. And then Burnham has also the kind of relationship with Morrison, kind of like Quietly, where he's able to like pitch ideas back and forth. So they're kind of doing like, plotting and story, scripting the story together. So, and everything that he's been saying, it just seems fucking phenomenal because I guess really horror is something that Grant Morrison at least has never really just done completely and fully, though we all know that Batman is pretty much horror
light.
Yeah, horror light. But what he's saying about all the kind of demented shit that they've been pulling up online to get ideas and do thumbs, and they've been doing arts, throwing ideas to each other, it's like sick shit.
They had to justify to the NSA what they were doing.
Some nasty shit. Yeah. Like he's saying, like...
Yeah.
12-year-old kids are going to copy it and they're going to get fired from their job or some shit.
Nick Spencer apparently will no longer be working for Marvel after this because he's doing 3 series in 2014. Paradigm, Carillion, and The Great Beyond.
Cerulean
Cerulean? Oh,
what's so sick about that is Fraser Irving. I mean, Fraser Irving,
is
done.
he doing that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Done.
What did he do?
Fraser Irving did tons of Batman stuff.
Yeah. And he did Secret Seven Soldiers of Victory.
Yes, he did all that stuff to Grant Morrison.
Yeah,
yes.
The Clarion arc, so good. Bill Willingham, this is actually going to be the most successful series of all these. Bill Willingham's doing basically Fables 2 at Image with Barry Kitson. So,
really,
yeah,
that's going to be
that's going to be huge.
Successful?
It's going to be huge.
Is it called Fables 2?
It's called Restoration. So, Joe Keating. And Leia Del Duca is doing a urban fantasy and globe-spanning adventure called Shudder. He's also doing a digital-only Tech Jacket reboot, which is an old Robert Kirkman creation went back well before Walking Dead. So it's kind of interesting that it's going to be digital-only. Then Karen Gillan and Jamie McKelvey, of all of you that know Young Adventures and Phonogram, is going to be doing The Wicked and the Divine. It's a new ongoing book.
Yeah, that looks really cool.
So that should be big.
It's like just like some gods, like, you know, the devil himself coming down to earth in human spirit, and they're walking around. They're kind of like taking over people, but everyone knows each other. But it's not just the demons or the saints. They know each other, but not everybody else knows who they are. And then eventually, at least from what I remember, is they're treated like rock stars. So it's like they come out in the open, come out of the closet, if you will, to be these people. So
cool.
Yeah.
And then if the Grant Morrison one or the Bill Willingham one is not the best-selling book from Image, it'll definitely be Scott Snyder and Jock's Witches.
Yes.
A new ongoing horror anthology.
What is that one witch movie that came out? That was like the scariest shit I seen in the last year. One of the... Do you guys remember what I'm talking about?
Conjuring?
The Conjuring. Ugh! So when he was talking about his book, I was like, yeah, it's like that chick. It's like that chick. But he said...
Fucking horror movies. Scare the fucking shit out of me.
I think what Snyder was saying, though, he's all, yeah, you think witches, you know, is scary? You think like Blair Witch? You think, you know, whatever, Conjuring? You know, those are just the people that looked up to the witches. We're talking about the witches now. This is like, you haven't even seen it yet, so...
So anybody have any predictions on how soon it's going to be that Ryan's going to have an Image section in the store now?
Well, yeah, I mean
more and more he does. You come here week to week. It's bigger than the effing Marvel
when their
section.
When their sales figures hit 10%, then he'll talk.
Well, no, I mean Image is, you know, their books stand on their own. There's no universe. So there's no point of putting them together. But yeah, I mean Image is those are some crazy, potentially huge titles there. So I mean, I'll be real curious to see what these numbers are. And so when I start talking, you know, ordering incentives and ordering a lot of copies, a lot of these books are a lot more interesting to me than a majority of stuff Marvel and DC has coming up. So
yeah.
So with such a disruptive business practice that Image has sort of been introducing these past 1, 2, 3 years, which I think has been ramping up more and more every year, I mean, what, if anything, do you anticipate Marvel or DC doing based on your experience in the industry? Which is, to me, sort of on the periphery, I'm thinking, man, these guys got to get their S together because, like, all of their best creators, or their best, I don't know if they are their best, but their best creators are spending 50% or more of their mind share or you know, work hours at Image. I mean, like, Rick Remender's doing, you know, 50-50, and it sounds like, it Kieran Gillen?
Yeah, they're going to do
Nick
less.
Spencer.
They're going to do less or nothing. All right.
Exactly. They're doing it only Image or IDW or Boom or Dark Horse or Valiant or whatever. It's anything. They can make more money that way. So are they going to change their business practices and maybe the way they compensate the creators?
Well, I don't know what you do, because what used to happen is Marvel and DC would hire the guys that worked on independent books that would become big at Marvel and DC, and then kind of fade away. Maybe some would go off and do their own things after Marvel and DC were kind of done with them. But there wasn't kind of this kind of second life. Now we're almost seeing guys picked up super early from Marvel and DC, and now they're going to do the indie stuff way faster. So it's like kind of, there's almost been this weird reversal, because Marvel and DC are getting guys from outside comics a lot now. There's a bit of a thing where DC grabbed a lot of new Image guys, but Image isn't just having on top of these 14 series, there's also 40 series by people you've never heard of. That'll be the next guys. That'll be the next Charles Soule or the next guys that Image or that DC and Marvel pick up. And then they're just going to flip back to Image when they're huge.
I think it ties into what Charlie was saying earlier, in that people are starting to follow writers more. So, I mean, people...
Well, it's not more. This has been practiced for 20 30 years at this point.
But that model where they start out the independent, and that's where DC and Marvel snatch them up, and then they either fade out or go away. It's like there's no... the good ones that stick around, there's not necessarily the fade out. They go back to the independent.
Well, there was no number 3 before, right? There was never a number 3. It was Marvel and DC... and kind of everyone else was there. Dark Horse kind of is in their own thing. You get people that do their own niche products or their own specialty stuff, but it was independent companies or anyone publish it. Now Image is firmly number 3, and this is looks like a scary couple, scary year for them.
Especially with Dark Horse losing Star Wars. I mean, that's just it's solidified number 3.
Yeah.
I just got to jump in there and give props where props is due. This is a guy I know, Ron Richards, who used to be the head of iFanboy, co-founder, and a dude I'd regularly see in San Francisco at Isotope because he's like BFFs with James there, and James Robinson will always come in too. Anyways, this guy knows comics. He's been in comics as long as most of us around the table, and he has been, I think, really well scripted in the indie scene thanks to James. I'm talking about the guy at Isotope, and I think that Eric Stevenson gave him just the reins to say, hey, he's kind of become the muse for Image, because ever since he's done all the big things he did, especially I think with Morrison Con, showing the connection to the fans, and being able to kind of do taste-making and sell it to the fans. When I was at Image Con, or Image Expo, I was kind of like, whoa, look what they're selling. They're just selling their creators. They're selling stories. That's what comics is all about. Sure, Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, they're timeless, but there's only so few timeless characters, and so many. We can go around the table and maybe list 20 titles that will sell themselves just because of the name. But really, the stories are held by the caretakers, by the people that are creating things, the creators. And I think Ron has done a really good job with saying, you got to put your money there. You got to put your money there. You got to snatch dude. I mean, the point you made earlier, Bryce, about DC and Marvel losing their best to Image. It is. I mean, Snyder was the poster boy for DC even more than Jeff Johns last year. Now he's going to go, and he seems more excited to talk about everything on stage. It's like there's a spotlight on this one guy talking the whole time, and it was just this creator. And he was talking so passionately about things that he's doing and world building. Everybody says that. The only issue I see with Image is the big question that Eric had for every single creator was, so when are we going to see that? Because I think, and I heard this through, a bunch of my friends that were there and people in lines, and we were waiting for stuff to get signed. Didn't we see this story and this idea drop before at Comic-Con? And wasn't this supposed to be out 2 years ago? That's the big thing. Because I think, at least with Marvel and DC, they are able to create deadlines, and you have to kind of stick to it. Otherwise, you're toast.
Well, this is the problem with Image, because there is no editor to the point of, hey, where's your book, right? They have editors, but they're not the same way. A handful of weeks ago, maybe a month ago or so, I was loading up my order cutoff thing on Diamond, which allows you to adjust all your orders. And I went to the monthly order and went to Image just because I go through every time and see what's there. There was all these Image series that never shipped.
Yeah.
Things like Image United and Hell Yeah and Shinku and all these series that just faded away and they never finished their runs. So I went through and turned everything to zeros. But, these, they're obviously clear in house, but there's a ton of Image books that just stop happening. I
mean, for me going to Image Expo in July for, 2013, I mean, I was stoked for Jason Aaron and what's his name?
There's still stuff from the last one that hasn't happened.
Like Southern, it's Southern something, but that hasn't even shipped yet.
Right.
Number one
hasn't even solicited yet. I mean, we're April at the earliest.
Southern Bastards. That's what
we're April at the earliest for that, and that was July of last year.
Yeah, but it's a kick in reaction, right? Because all these creators are going away. Jason Aaron's getting more shine. He's got picked up all these other books that people probably were going to get connected to, but because people are leaving.
So is that on the writer or the artist? Because somebody Hickman is on at least 2 Image titles, but he's also doing an S-ton over at Marvel still. And I think it's much more easy for the prolific writer to just bang out, like Bendis, just bang out a bunch of scripts, and then it takes the artist sometimes a little bit longer.
Hickman's an excellent example because Secret from Hickman, 4 issues are out, and that came out.
Well, look at S.H.I.E.L.D. as well. He said, we're going to have 5 and 6 come out, or 4, 5, and 6 or whatever, but good luck.
But is that on him or is that the artist?
That was on him.
So the artist is like... It seems untraditional that the artist is the one waiting.
What happened?
Like the artist is usually the one holding stuff up because it takes longer than a month to draw such a beautiful book. Look at Asad Ribic.
Well, what happens with some of this is that the writer goes, okay, well, I have all these other projects. I want to put my focus on this. When I have a break, I'll do it. Oh, I just got an event. Oh, I just got this new book. Oh, I have to do this. Okay, well, I think when you're like, I have 2 issues of Avengers due a month, or I guess 3 at this point. I have 3 issues of Avengers due a month. Okay. Monday through Tuesday, I write Avengers. Wednesday through Thursday, I write, Avengers, new Avengers. Friday and the next Monday, I do this. Now I'm working on my indie books, and I still have a life. I have to go to a con. I have to do this stuff. I think when you have a rhythm, it's every month. Something like Secret or S.H.I.E.L.D., well, I can get to it. I'll do it later. Well, it's not on a schedule, so I'll do it next. Oh, I don't have the time. I'll do it next time.
Right, but with S.H.I.E.L.D., it's different than Marvel says, okay, Johnny, we need this Avengers titles to be coming out at a regular clip. S.H.I.E.L.D. was never going to be one of their top 10 titles, so it's like, okay, you're doing something crazy here. We're sort of developing you as a writer. Good for you, good for us. Sort of work on that when you get a chance. But by the way, we need these Avengers titles, even though I know that was previous and this is now, but we need these Avengers titles at a regular clip. And yes, you have a life.
Secret Avengers at that point would have been, or Secret Warriors at that point would have been his other book, so that needed to ship monthly.
Well, you and I have talked to Charlie, and I know you and I have talked to everyone. Probably talked about it, is that once writers get over a certain amount of titles that they're writing, you see kind of either a book gets delayed, or you see kind of it's not as the quality in each of those titles might not necessarily be as good, or one is really good, but the other's kind of.
Yeah, it's like anything in life. You can't if you have 2 families and then 3 sets of kids on 2 sides of the family. You can only be one dad.
Stop talking about your personal life.
No, I'm just talking about art. Mimicking reality, and it's true. It's wherever you put your time. It's not infinite.
Well, because I've seen Scott Snyder tweet a couple of times about his writing schedule. Like he's like, today I was just writing Batman, and then the next day he's like, I was working on the Wake for this, or I broke my day up writing, spending 4 hours on this and then more time.
But there's some creators out there that can stick it. Like Hickman's one of them. I think Snyder's one of them. People that when you hear them talk, you just believe them. They should be they should be politicians because they're fucking everything they sell just is incredible.
It's all sales. They get up there and they just sell their work, and they just because it's pitching. They need to pitch their stories to Marvel. They need to pitch their stories to Image. If they can pitch it at Image Expo,
in front of hella fans, and these people were like fucking like, fuck yeah! Like I was like, I can chop the F-bomb here. I was like, usually Ryan says no. Fuck yeah! I was like, yeah, fuck yeah.
Well, there's a ton of random crap I want to talk about, but I want to hear Omar. So how was Image Expo this
Image
year?
Expo was fucking phenomenal. I walked in 30 minutes late. I saw Kat, who's like the head of PR there, and she's like, "Oh, hey, didn't I give you your pass already?" I was like, "No, I'm fucking hungover. Can I get my pass and walk upstairs?" I walk upstairs and went downstairs and then sat in the wheelchair area because it's closer and has the most leg room. But there's a chick that came in the wheelchair, and she was pretty cute, and I kind of scooted over for her and I sat next to the thing, and I saw a bunch of my friends like laughing because they called me and they said they were waiting to get their tickets like at 7:30. I was like, oh, sorry, you just don't got the pool. You're not a part of the comics conspiracy. My bad. Got that media pass, yo.
We didn't even attend.
Yes, we did because I was there. Okay, so boom.
No, the store didn't attend.
Okay, whatever. Anyways, so it was just a fucking incredible show. Like from the opening. What is it? Was it keynote speech? Which makes me feel like I'm at like CES or something, or like at Sony or the Electronic Entertainment Expo. It was awesome. I love it. It really feels like the intimacy with the creators. That's what cons are all about, and that's what I experienced as a kid, like just going to like regular shows, but then seeing people and being able to talk to them, and there's like no pretentious feel. It's kind of like you can touch them. They're human just like you. And it's like
it's like that band you like growing up that blew up, and now you can only see them in arenas, but it's now kind of they're doing the small, more private shows.
Totally.
Like, it's
totally.
Like,
Exactly. And I love that Image is leading the way in doing that. We're going to probably see DC do the same thing, and we're probably going to see Marvel do the same thing. Why? Because Comic-Con is not Comic-Con anymore. And we all know that. And it's exciting and it's great, but it takes away from a lot of the other stories. And you talk about TV and movies, what is that? It's something that a lot of people are into, but really it's Hollywood. It's celebrities.
Imagine how successful a Marvel or DC con would be. Just them doing it themselves. Like BlizzCon, right? Something along the
Can I tell you how much money these fuckers made? I stood in the retail line, which went all the way around the block. It went like all the way around the block, around the corner. But because I ran outside, right near the end, I said, "Hey, my friends," I ran outside and I went straight to the line because I knew they're going to start selling stuff. Which is a lot of stuff you can buy online, but some stuff you can only buy at Comic-Con. Like if you're talking about the hardcover compendiums. I mean, these things sell for $100 each, but people are dishing out all their money. Like, fuck it, rent can wait for next week or whatever. And it was just amazing, like how many people were spending money, and it goes straight to their pocket. They weren't even using Square; they're using some other company to get even more of a margin. I was just watching how they were doing business. You had all of the creators like walk around, and they were amongst all the fans, and it wasn't like they were touching them like, oh God, they're walking by. I was like, oh hey. It was just like normal. It was just like a normal feel. Like imagine if you're walking at a coffee shop or a pub in Portland and you see like Brubaker or any of the other dudes bed, if you're in a comic town, it's like that, and I can imagine that. And that's what it felt like. And I've never, when I was in Oakland, that was the last time I went to Image Expo, was in Oakland.
Yeah, you went 2 years ago.
Yeah,
right?
2 years ago. And it was just like, it felt like a small con. It felt like, ooh, I'm at Big Wow. Okay. But it was cool because I got to sit with people and talk with them, and they weren't like, there wasn't crazy lines until they did their whole like, the founder's signature line, which I was not going to wait for. But it allowed you to talk with people like Brian K. Vaughan. I was like, hey, dude, what happened to your eye? Like, probably he got fucked up by some chick that he was trying to hit on. And, it's just like, it's so cool that you have those instances where you can do it. I'm sure New York Comic Con is probably similar, and also Emerald City Con. Those are two places that I'm looking forward to going to. I mean, you go like every year at Emerald City for the most part. Or,
for the last few years. So that's 2 more years than me. I'm looking forward to going to those cons because everything that I've heard from a lot of friends that have gone to Comic-Con or have gone to even Kamikaze, it's just like it's not about that experience. And don't get me wrong, I love it. I love Comic-Con for the excitement, the wow factor. But when I leave, it's not about stories and things I'm looking forward to. It's about, what I did here and there. Speaking of crazy experiences, kind of like Comic-Con, I didn't go to the after hours party over at, you were there, the Comic Museum?
The Cartoon Art Museum. I was there earlier in the day for the Sandman.
Of course you were there.
Exhibit, completely unrelated to Image Expo. I completely forgot Image Expo was that day until we were on our way there, and I'm like, oh wait, that's today.
I was looking for you. I seriously thought you were there already. I was like, where are you at?
Yeah, when you texted me, I was like, it's a shop or where? And I'm like, no, I'm in my car. I'm like, oh, Image Expo. Oh yeah.
Anyways, so one of my buddies, he regular guy, clicks with Daniel. I'm not going to say the creators' names, but I'll say things they're associated with. So one guy that's a big Nightwing buff, for the most part, was destroyed at the bar, just fucking destroyed, and his girlfriend was getting pissed, hella pissed, and he's like, hey man, I'm in San Francisco, we're gonna get some good weed to my buddy. He's like, yeah. Oh yeah, weed, I could do this. And some other guy bumped into Daniel, who he was talking to earlier. Obviously loves Phantom X, loves the shit out of Wolverine, even though he kills him in every single book. Said, "Oh, you talking about some of this? Come follow me." So, for the most part, Remender Higgins,
Jesus,
and
blew it.
I gotta keep. Fuck it.
Christ.
Who listens to us anyways? Only 4,000 people.
EVS is gonna.
They went outside, and they all fucking smoked a doobie. And for the most part, I guess
Daniel with Rick Remender.
Yes,
get the fuck out.
And they were like all smoking, and fucking Remender gave Daniel's homeboy his pipe because Remender knew like this. One of Remender's Daniel's friends is just hardcore. I think Kyle Kyle or Carl, I forgot his name. Anyways, he's like this big time Remender fan where he actually knows like his script. He knows certain characters, knows certain moments. So he's like in the head of Remender. Remender is like totally digging that shit. And he's like, yeah, dude, this is like my new pipe. And he didn't even smoke. He's the guy, first of all, the super fan doesn't even smoke weed and doesn't smoke cigarettes, but he did that night just to hang out with Remender for a good amount of the night. And it's like, I
didn't have to do that to hang out with Remender last year.
Well, of course you didn't. Of course you didn't. Anyways, that happened. Oh, Nick Spencer and Daniel kind of like got into a little tiff, which was funny. I heard about that. Yeah, Daniel was kind of pretty much telling him how he didn't know he was coming. And Nick Spencer is like, for the most part, one of the more famous guys like that was pushed for Image Expo. And he's like, I didn't bring any of your books. I'm sorry. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about, you bullshitter? And this and that. So like, I guess throughout the night, because there's free alcohol, people were wasted. Like in the end of the night, it was kind of like an isotope party. Where Kirkman's trying to like kind of like be the older statesman. Hey guys, take it easy. Hey, you know, because like Kirkman doesn't really drink and he's a family guy and he's just like he is the epitome of like being a professional, kind of like Jeff Johns. He's just like, no, you got to do this. And he's like trying to like bring people back to Earth, and because everyone is just like so excited. They're like, whoa, we're gonna make our millions, you know, because we're not gonna just like be at Marvel and DC and just be able to pay our gas bill. That was the big thing that I think I got was, you know, for creators to actually make a living. You know, that's how you do it.
It's big bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, your book sells 30,000 copies. You're getting a huge cut of that. You're getting way more than if it sells 100,000 at Marvel. So.
And to be able to bring your toys with you. Like, I forgot that Casanova was originally with Image and then went to Marvel, or not Marvel, but Icon, back to... Yeah, so I was like, huh? Wait, you could do that? I was like, damn, that's awesome.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to go, but I just, like I said, I just
you
completely
blanked.
spazzed.
I found out looking at the back of an Image
I wish I was a part of it.
Like,
yeah.
How do I get
the first month, like the first week of this month.
That's it.
We'll get you in, Bryce.
It's fun. We need to go.
Well, I'm gonna quick hit you here with a whole bunch of random news because this was the week of like we have these feast or famine weeks for comic shit. So I'm gonna hit you with a few of these here.
This is a Game of Thrones feast right here.
Oh my god, Game of Thrones, the trailer, yes.
Oh, that trailer was good. We were talking earlier about, you know, all these Image, or not earlier, we're talking right now about all these new Image books. Well, of course, Marvel and DC aren't going to let that stand because DC's got a ton of new books coming out, as you know. Previews comes out, I think. The solicitations are next Monday. Maybe tomorrow, but I think they're next Monday. They have a bunch of new books coming out. Again, some of these are rumored, but they all seem pretty confirmed at this point. Aquaman and the Others, apparently by Dan Jurgens.
Is that
we'll see.
In addition to?
Yes.
Sorry, Aquaman. Jeff Johns isn't writing you anymore.
Yeah. Forever Evil Aftermath. There's a Bane and Batman book, so that could be okay. Batman Eternal, which I already knew about. Flash Annual number 3, which today was announced is going to be the return of Barry Allen. I'm sorry, the return
Wally
of
West.
Wally West.
He's back, guys.
That's like the third time I've done that. The return of Wally West, or I'm sorry, the first appearance of Wally West in the New 52.
New 52.
As well as the new creative team on Flash, Robert Venditti. Currently writing Green Lantern.
Hey, he's not going to mess up the Speed Force. I heard research how that operates.
Which I heard from a fair amount of people today that have really enjoyed his run on Green Lantern.
Dude,
really?
Okay, he's trolling.
You've heard that from people?
Stop, he's trolling.
I had made a comment.
Who says that with a straight face?
I had made a comment that
that's like you saying Man of Steel is the third best comic book movie ever.
That's pretty close to that.
I had made a comment that I had never heard anyone tell me they actually liked Green Lantern right now, and I got a handful of replies saying that they actually really, really liked it. A couple liked it more than John's.
What?
So, like,
yeah, that's bullshit.
Are they like 3 or 4 months behind?
They're not trolling. I don't think, but
that's like people. Yeah, that's like whatever.
Justice League United number 0, which was kind of this rumored like Justice League. Every character in the DC universe is now in the Justice League book, kind of like Justice League Beyond. Justice League Unlimited. So I get all their names. Secret Origins number 1, which was confirmed, which is going to be an ongoing like the 80s Secret Origin book, which is going to be a lot of like 2 origins per issue of characters in the New 52, just like they did after Crisis. So that's kind of cool.
Actually cool.
Can't wait for my Geoforce issue.
Batman and is getting a Wonder Woman team up for a while, so Batman and Wonder Woman, that's going to be cool. The Batwoman Annual is going to finish up J.H. Williams' run, which we knew about, and there's a whole bunch of other crap, but there's a new Sinestro title, which they had rumored there was going to be a Yellow Lantern comic but it's just straight up a Sinestro comic now.
I thought he was supposed to be gone for a little while.
Yeah, it didn't last very long.
That didn't last very long.
What do you mean, man? It's been 6 months.
In terms of comic time, that's plenty.
Yeah.
Sorry for taking that.
And it's written by Cullen Bunn, who I know Brock likes.
Yeah.
And Charlie like. I've not read much by him, so hopefully.
It's a good.
But
I need to get caught up.
Oh, wait a minute. Cullen Bunn. Yeah.
Yeah. Not too big a fan of his Venom stuff, but no, his Six Gun stuff is...
Six Gun is amazing.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Six Gun.
Six Gun was the one. I was going to say
Six
Two
Guns
Guns, but no, Six Guns. Yeah.
I mean, there's been some rumors of the cancel series like Larfleeze ending in Pandora and a few others. Nothing. It's
That Larfleeze just needs to be put down.
Stormwatch and a few others, but nothing surprising. I mean, with basically the 2 new weekly series, because they confirmed the 5-year later event last week, where they're going to have this like jump forward, and I think that's going to be their September event. Is that every book is going to be 5 years later? So that's 8 new books because it's 4 a month plus. Secret Origin, Outsider, or Others. What else did I say? There's, so we're talking 10, 12 new books, which will replace the 10 or 12 books that they've canceled or will be canceled. So.
Well, the nice thing is at least they're keeping the amount of books that they're producing about the same.
Well, they're right. They've slowly canceled a few. They're canceling a few more, and now we're getting a ramp up with the weeklies and then new ongoings.
When's that Gothtopia one come out?
Well, the first part of Gothamtopia was in the Detective 27.
Gothtopia.
Oh, yeah.
No M. Just Gothtopia.
I think we're just going to start calling it Gothamtopia or whatever.
Call it whatever
because we want to.
Whatever.
So the weekly that you mentioned, which weeklies have been announced? The Batman Eternal one, but was there a Justice League weekly announced yet?
It's called 5 Years Later. I don't know if that's the official title yet, but that is the story
that won't
arc.
be the official title.
No.
So they're coming out at about 49 books a month after they launch these new ones.
I mean, probably. Well, no, because I think it'll get them back up to 52 if you count the weeklies as.
If you count the weekly as 4
bucks,
so
I think.
49.
Okay,
minus 3.
Well, they do put up.
I mean, I don't know how many they're making right now.
Minus 4 plus
you have to X out a bunch of the random crap. They're ending some of the digital series, but those don't count as part of the 52.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to be confusing. I'm just saying they're still at 52 if you count the weekly as 4.
I believe so.
Got
it. Marvel also has some more number ones coming.
Oh, I'm interested to hear about this.
Put me down for X-Force. That shit looks good.
Are you?
No, I'm in.
He's trolling, but I'm serious.
No, I'm in.
No, the new X-Force.
Cable, Psylocke, Phantomex, and that chick with the
new
spider
X-Force
legs.
looks cool.
Wait, first of all, are you talking about Spiral?
Spiral?
No.
That doesn't look like Spiral, no.
Wait, who are you talking about?
I
can't tell if Omar's trolling me.
No, I'm totally serious.
There was a new X-Force. I mean, and they're relaunching X-Force again, but that was
Wait,
weeks
which
ago.
one?
Just X-Force.
I think they're
Just
combining
X-Force.
both of them into one.
Yeah, they're
Can
both
they get
ending.
rid of one and keep Cable and X-Force? That would be preferable.
I think it is Cable and X-Force, but it looks a lot more like...
It seems like they're taking some characters from one and some characters from the other and making a new book. So I'm assuming they're going to cancel the other two.
Actually,
and just
issue
have an
1 of
X-Force.
X-Force was delicious. Who's the creative team behind it is actually the pertinent question.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Because
Yeah,
that's not the number ones I was going to talk about.
Oh, sorry.
The number ones I was going to talk about was all new Ultimates.
All new Ultimates. Oh, can't get enough of that Ultimate Universe
What?
after Cataclysm.
I thought they were dead already. Didn't they blow up?
I'm looking at somebody
was
exploding the
hoping-
universe all across the cataclysmic...
All new Ultimates, Miles Morales, Ultimate Spider-Man, and Ultimate FF. Future Foundation, not Fantastic Four. Those are the 3 new Ultimate titles.
Where's my 2099 Spidey book at? What the hell?
A lot of people, that is one of the possibilities of
A poll question, right?
a poll question
Yes, I
of
saw
what
that.
they want to do. Speaking of new number ones,
Yes.
now that Amazing Spider-Man is coming
What's wrong
back
with
with
Superior?
Peter
Yeah.
Parker at the helm, they announced officially...
That cover looks beautiful, by the
They
way.
announced officially that Peter Parker will be returning to the Marvel Universe in Amazing Spider-Man number 1. But the question is what happens to Superior, because I've liked Superior way more than I've liked Amazing in recent years.
Totally.
Well,
But I mean, obviously, Spider-Man coming back is big news, and obviously a new number 1 and a relaunch and everything. But who knows what they're going to do with it? I mean,
The child in Bryce is dying right now.
I'm not talking about this cover. There's a better cover than this. It looks
they're still talking about
incredible.
X-Force. Yeah, it's Cy Spurrier, right? It's the same writer, right? As Legacy.
as Legacy.
Yeah, that's doing X-Force. Yeah.
Does that mean I shouldn't read it?
Bryce's hands are in his. Bryce's head is in his hands right now.
If you're quiet enough, you can hear
He's
the child in
he's-
Bryce dying.
He's holding back the
But
tears.
what about this guy,
The
Rocky
child,
Kim?
the
This guy,
teenager,
his
the
art
adult.
is incredible.
Is this the artist? This art looks cool. I hate it. I hate the art in Legacy. Oh, this is him. Okay, so yeah. So he did some of the X-Force pre Remender.
Yeah, he almost looks like Choi.
Yeah, so I love this art. So that might make it better.
So the art will be awesome, but the story might not be.
But look if there's no words, you just need art. Right?
Good point. Fucking Omar.
Omar was looking at an unlettered preview of X Factor.
Dude, that was a great read.
So the art in Legacy, in my opinion, has been terrible, and I think that the writing has been equally terrible. So I hope that the writing in the new upcoming X-Force book, since it's the same writer, will improve.
Who's that chick?
I don't know. Is that it? It looks like Marrow.
Oh yeah, Meryl's the one that has bones that stick out.
But it's just bones, and these are like metal bones, so I'm not sure. We'll see.
Maybe
anyway, for those of you listening, be sure to pre-order your X-Force #1 from your local comic shop.
Is that M?
Because no, that's
Psylocke in a new costume.
Psylocke, gotta be Psylocke.
How many costumes does she have? She's like Batman.
Yeah, except that she doesn't have 13 titles. Oh,
well, let's talk about Spider-Man. Because Spider-Man's back.
Spider-Man's huge.
We talked about your X-Men stuff, so let's talk about Spider-Man for a minute. So Spider-Man's coming back, and the question is, what is going to happen to Superior Spider-Man afterwards? And one of the suggestions by Comic Resources is a Miguel O'Hara Spider-Man 2099.
And that's where he made his reappearance in Marvel Now.
So that is a possibility that I would not be opposed to.
And especially if it's just labeled Superior Spider-Man, which would be fantastic marketing on their part.
Yeah,
because it's been such a great book. And
don't relaunch one.
It's been a great run.
Yeah, keep it going.
And he was introduced in 29. He was introduced. Yeah, dude, they should totally do. And he is really superior to Peter Parker because he's ethnic and because he has claws, so he can beat out Wolverine, but also still do webs. And his color is just darker and cooler, so he can hide better. And he's like kind of like Booster Gold because he's in touch with the future.
So he's pretty much the ultimate
hero.
Except he's not related to the X-Men, so he's disqualified.
Oh. So we'll see what happens with that. But Peter Parker coming back in April, right in time for the Amazing Spider-Man 2 movie. And the first arc is going to be about Electro. So, wonder why that is.
Hopefully they can do as good as the Green Arrow book has done with Lemire.
Wonder why that has been. However, but
how's that been?
Fucking good.
Yeah. The book has been good?
Yeah.
Green Arrow's been awesome.
Like, volume 3 or 4, whenever he takes over, should just be Green Arrow volume 1.
Yeah. Pretend the first two don't
Why did they do that? They were starting everything else. That was stupid that they didn't renumber that. By the way, Arrow's been amazing. I don't want to hijack the conversation, so continue.
Well, one last bit of comic news before we move on to some TV and movie stuff, really briefly. John Layman, who left Detective Comics to write Batman Eternal, has left Batman Eternal.
What?
No!
After 4 issues to write Chew, the comic he was already writing.
Fine.
Well,
Layman, come back.
Other thing.
Layman, you've been the best.
Layman.
Like Layman and
that's lame, man.
And Simone. That's been like the two creators I know that I can depend on to make sure. Well, Higgins too, but after those two, to make sure that the Gothtopia is in place.
Tomasi's been doing good on
Layman's finishing Gothtopia and stuff. That's still going to be Layman. It's just basically after Gothtopia wraps up, it's changing creative teams to the Flash creative team.
Yeah.
And then he was going to be writing Batman Eternal still, but he said like his plan with Batman Eternal was to sort of like complement it with Detective to sort of like feed on each other there. So once he kind of checked out Detective, his brain kind of checked out of what he had planned for Eternal as well. So,
well, that's a bummer.
That's right. DC just needs to dig in their pockets and pay him a little more money.
Layman is the bomb.
Yeah,
I mean it's a big difference when you open the pages up and have him behind a book versus
it's good stuff.
Yeah, his Detective stuff's been very good.
Very briefly here, talk about some movie and TV crap because there's been a couple things over the last few days. Well, actually, really today. While not immediately, Justice League looks to be filming very shortly after Man of Steel 2. So, not quite back-to-back Hobbit style, but...
So Latino Review was right.
That's what
we'll
see. Again,
those janitors get the best information.
Don't they?
Obviously not official. Do
we still wish we had a video
2014 Comic Conspiracy most racist comment ever made on the podcast?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
That's all right. He's a hick. He can get away with it.
But
he's like Duck Dynasty.
The Wakandans don't want to do those jobs.
You're like the Duck Dynasty of our podcast.
Stop, Brock, before it gets worse. So, yeah, I mean, that would make a lot of sense considering everything. They really want to push these movies out fast. So if 2015 Superman, probably 2016 Justice League. So let's see.
Can I go on the record and say this is a terrible idea?
But people are also saying The Rock is going to be Lobo in Justice League. So who knows?
But we can agree that they are pumping out rumors and shortly thereafter corroboration that more and more characters are being added to the Superman-Batman movie, which is very quickly becoming Superman and Batman, and everybody else in the DC universe.
Well, that's the thing, is that the belief is that all these rumors aren't for Man of Steel 2. They're for Justice League. It's happening at the same time.
Yeah,
so while the
films are so close together in what they're doing that
I'm hearing the words that you're both saying, but I'm also suggesting that this is a bad idea because they are rushing it.
I agree that hopefully they already have a phenomenal idea, so it's just ramping up production. But
I also hope that they have a phenomenal idea, Charles.
But I agree with you that I have a feeling more and more of this stuff gets greenlit before any kind of story has been pitched.
That's all I'm saying.
Well, we have a bunch of other stuff that has been greenlit. The Constantine show got picked up for a pilot.
Ooh. Well, that's been in development for a while, so that's not...
That's pretty much like...
But we have
saying, come on.
But we have...
Keep going.
But we have... This is all official. So Constantine,
no, I'm just saying
piloted.
That rather than it being greenlit before they have a plan in place, that one, they at least have a plan in place.
Right. And same with, I believe, Gotham is just happening, right?
I'm so tired of
Seems to be
this Gotham rumor. Is this actually happening?
Yeah.
It's happening. Yeah, it's happening.
I feel like we've heard rumors about this thing forever. So
a roughly 12-year-old Bruce Wayne will be in it. Commissioner Gordon will be not Commissioner Gordon at this point, like Lieutenant Gordon or Detective Gordon, trying to solve the murder of the Wayne murders solve the Wayne murders. And while Gotham is on the brink of destruction and the brink of shit hitting the fan, and there was even one of the guys said the last episode is he becomes Batman. So they're pulling the Smallville. Basically, we're getting that young Bruce Wayne adventures, maybe a little bit younger than we thought.
Oh, so we're gonna get like that animation that we should have gotten a long time ago. Was it Gotham High?
Oh God,
yeah.
But they are going to have villains.
I'm actually just picturing the young Indiana Jones stuff, right?
Right, exactly.
No, but he was
Riddler,
like 16. You're saying he's 12.
They did the two different versions in Young Indiana Jones. They had the younger one, and then they had the 16-year-old one that they alternate. Like
16 is still too young.
Yeah. The show will track Bruce from a child, around 12 years old, until he puts on a cape in the finale. It'll deal with big-name Bat villains, Riddler, Catwoman, and Penguin, putting them all probably pretty significantly older, unless like they're 16 or something like that. And then the Constantine got officially hooked up.
I had told you that when we talked about this a little earlier, like I could honestly see kind of a long Halloween where we see kind of like the beginnings of certain characters like Calendar Man and Zaz and like the characters that are a little bit older.
I can see Penguin at a party, an elitist party, and going up to what's Bruce Wayne's mom's name? Martha. Oh, hey Martha, hello. Well, let's have a drink together. Oh, in our nice outfits. So we're also pretty, just like fucking Arrow.
Well, obviously, they're gonna go with characters people know, and
so fucking cheesy.
But making Bruce 12 in Gotham works, but he has to leave. No, I'm fine with Bruce Wayne at 12 being in Gotham, but the whole point of Gotham is that he leaves, right? He leaves. And then comes back
Whether
once
or not he goes anywhere. Is he Batman at 12 years old?
No, he's Batman.
No, he's not. What channel is this on? Fox or CW?
He's Bat Kid at that point.
Yeah, he's Batman at 21.
Bat Kid, wow.
But either way, way they're selling this show isn't like this is the story of Bruce Wayne. It's more the story of Gordon.
It's Gordon and Gotham.
Yeah, they're selling Batman and Bruce Wayne always just to try to make sure the pitch goes well. But we all know it's going to be Greg Rucka shit.
It's Gordon,
right? Gotham Central.
Yeah. It'll be Gotham Central.
So,
but because everything that you just read was about Bruce Wayne.
But the show can't focus around Bruce Wayne because he's going to be either 12 years old and that doesn't work for a show, or he's not going to be there. So they can have Bruce Wayne and the Wayne murders and this stuff in the first couple seasons, but by 14, 15, he needs to check out. He needs to be traveling. He needs to be overseas. He needs to be training. He can stop in. They can have, if they take the show a decade, he could be 22 in Batman at the end of the show, but that's a long pitch. So,
wait, but if is this on Fox or CW?
It's CW, I think.
And they have like a 18-year-old playing a 12-year-old, like they probably will.
God,
no, this is supposed to be Fox.
Is Gotham on Fox?
I think that's what they were talking about.
Whatever, they're just as bad about putting.
At first, I heard it
12-year-old.
I heard people calling it Gordon first, and now I'm hearing it references Gotham. I don't know. Unless maybe there was.
I think they should just do GCPD.
Yeah, it just doesn't sell as much.
Nobody would.
Because you have to. I think you have to have Batman and the villains in there. And their thing was, we're not going to have crappy villains. We're going to have big villains. It's like, but they shouldn't be there.
My thing is
some can. See, some can't because you could have Penguin. Penguin could be there. You could have Zaz. You could have some of these guys sort of in the background. You could have the
Maronis,
Marconi, the Falcons.
Falcons.
You
can 12-year-old Catwoman, not as hot.
You can have Mr. Freeze. You can have.
I think there's a few that you can kind of get away with, but I don't want Batman to show up in a world with 40 villains already established and Joker's been running around.
No, but the thing is when they throw around the word Riddler, we think Riddler in costume and whatnot, but it could just be a smart hacker Edward Nygma.
Yeah.
I mean, when I think they're sort of like, I don't think we're going to see Selina Kyle as Catwoman. They're just saying Catwoman because that's the name recognition really saying Selina Kyle.
So when he shows up in 10 years in a costume, do these guys all decide to put on costumes after that? Because it is kind of how they've pitched Gotham, that these guys didn't really do this until Batman showed up.
Yeah.
So I could see that, but
most of them were already around, and like at least my thought process on this is yes, these guys started putting on costumes and whatnot, but it doesn't mean they weren't bad guys before they put on the costumes, and they weren't getting like some of them donned costumes because Batman stopped what they were doing already, and
it's true.
So. Yeah, I think when they're dropping names like Catwoman, they don't mean we're going to see Catwoman on the screen. I think they mean we're going to see a young, pickpocketing Selina Kyle running around Gotham or something.
I could dig that. And that's an episode of the Comic Conspiracy, everyone.
What?
That's it.
Really?
Yeah.
God damn, it's been too long. We haven't been here since like last year.
Oh, it feels like it was last year.
Really?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Is that it? Really?
That's
Did we finish? What about Stefano's question? Did you get to that?
Yeah, we did. That's the beginning of the thing. Yeah.
Were there any more questions that you wanted to get to?
We're already past an hour, so we remember to keep these short, or else I have to start paying more for hosting. So we can keep these short. Yeah.
That's right. He's making 10% more money, so he can add it to the conspiracy.
There's always room for next week.
There's always room for next week.
We'll always keep them listening.
We'll always have more time.
Ryan, one last question before you go. But which was it, Marvel or DC, that actually lost more percentage-wise?
DC did.
Yep. Thanks. I'm good.
No problem. Do you know what DC's percentage is these days? It's about 30%. Do you know what it was about 5-6 years ago? About 30%. You know what Marvel's was about 5-6 years ago?
No, I dropped the mic. I'm already out of the room.
41%. You know what it is now? 33%. The losses are coming from DC. It's coming from Marvel. But that's...
Not this last year.
Yeah, some of it is. But that's a story for another day. Anyway, thank you for listening to the Comic Conspiracy Podcast. Geekbox.net or comicsconspiracy.biz. You can go find us on there, all our episodes.
Or just listen to more Troll versus Troll talk next week.
Yes. The Troll versus Troll podcast. Me and Bryce just making snarky comments back and forth for an hour. The forums at geekbox.net.
You can just follow them on Twitter.
Go talk to us on there. We are on Twitter. I'm Ryan Higgins. Ryan. Brock is Brock Sager. Omar is Comics and Decline. Bryce is Larsen Bryce. Charlie is Insanity and Chaos. And Toby, who should be with us back next week, is Toby XI. We all do random other crap. Brock's got conspiratedbrock.com. Omar's got comicsanddekind.com. Charlie has the Infinite Longbox podcast as well as something else. Can I say anything?
If you want to. I mean, we will probably be launching in February.
Okay.
Yes.
What are you launching, Charles?
Yes, I am going to be launching.
We should just pause right now, and you cut in a sound, the beginning of the
record.
ending.
Just go.
Well, I'm going to be launching a Doctor Who podcast.
Fantastic.
Have more information for people later.
Okay.
Oh, speaking of Doctor Who, in March we're going to be having the Realms Open Championship here.
Yeah.
At the Comics Conspiracy.
Yeah.
Shop.
We'll talk about
And that is it's HeroClix related, and it's on everywhere. We got people all over the world.
Doctor Who clicks yet.
We have people all over the world talking about this shit. And they don't even know to speak English.
We'll talk about that.
That's okay. When they pick up the Doctor Who license to start doing Doctor Who clicks.
If you play HeroClix, we're doing a big tournament here, like actual big regional qualifier here. So we'll talk about that. Maybe next week we'll talk more.
Let's do it. Yeah.
So you can pimp that. So that's it. Everyone have a good week, and we'll talk to you next week.